Test. 1, 2. call to order the City Council meeting for Monday, January 5th, 2024. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And roll call, Amanda.
Jeff Delkey. Tracy Coach. Bill Leclerc. Darla Leclerc.
Here.
Tim Petrie. Bonnie Shimalunas. Scott Steckmesser.
Here.
Adam Mahusky.
Here. All right, we can skip over number 4, seeing everyone is here. No one needs to join us via remote. Brings us to number 5, which is input from the public. Anyone wishing to address the council on something that's on this agenda or something they'd like to see on a future agenda, please step up to the podium, my right, your left, and state your name and address for the record. Input from the public. All right, seeing none, we will move on to number 6, which is council communications. Any council members have letters or other communications they'd like to share with the rest of council? Tracy.
Well, about a week and a half ago, I attended the EAB lecture series. And afterwards, I had one gentleman express some concern about not being able to grow anything other than turf grass in his terrace. And so, well, I told him we could, I'll let him know. And then I had a couple of people make a comment about a Facebook page. I don't read Facebook, so I had to say, I don't know what you're talking about. I had the following couple of days, I heard the same thing from mostly neighbors. And so I looked it up. And it was a post from 2 of our council members regarding a vote here on police cars. And I read through that and the response, and not all the information was correct. And so I think, like I had said when I made the motion to authorize the purchase of those vehicles, that folks should take a look at the plan that was put together. It was very sound. They did a cost-benefit analysis that considered both quantitative and qualitative parts of, the costs and the benefits. Almost everybody is telling me it's unprofessional, and beyond that, it violates our code of ethics that we all signed. And if you don't read the municipality magazine, I don't know, you get that monthly too?
Yes.
Definitely read this month's, because on the first couple of pages, it actually talks about what a council is supposed to do, and that the hardest thing for them usually is to be able to tell the difference between providing legislative oversight and policy making and administrative. And that's all my complaints that I got for the entire week. Over a dozen was about posts.
Anything else, Tracy?
Nope.
Darla, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I've also heard from people, this was just a bad situation. But it raises some questions that I hope we can get those answered tonight. I don't know how we're going to do this, Jack, or how we're going to approach it, but there's some things that I'm totally concerned with. And that is when the post was written, I felt like you had stabbed me in the back. And I thought, no, that can't be it. And I go down to read some comments. And Jeff, yours was fabulous. All right. I love the fact that you can piss away your money, but you're not going to piss away other people's. Totally get it. But the takeaway from that is, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a yes man because you had that in your reply. And that we don't matter. This was a joint decision. All right. And truly, I think that your level of judgment was non-existent. And in the post, you even said rant over. Well, rant, Jeff, you refer to yours as a rant. You know what, guys? This is city council. We've got over 11,000 people to worry about. We are held to a higher standard. We are adults. We are not petulant children. And quite frankly, Adam, Jeff, you've lost my respect. And quite frankly, Adam, I think that you should step aside and give the gavel over to Scott, because I'll tell you what, right now, I would not be in a foxhole with you.
I don't know if this is something, well, it's not on the agenda, obviously. Any code of conduct sets forth a procedure to be used if someone wants to make a complaint. If you feel there's grounds for a complaint, I'd suggest you make it consistent with the code of conduct. If you're asking for revisions to a code of conduct, that should be an agenda item so people know what's taking place. I don't know what else to say at this point. As far as I know, the code of conduct doesn't prohibit council members from disagreeing with the council decision, provided they make it clear that they're not speaking for the council. And not sure what else to say at this point.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Darrell? No? Anybody else, council communications? Jeff?
1 second here. I had a few, not an overabundance of them. Most of them were snowplow related. Most of the comments this time were good about the snow plowing, that everything was done pretty well timely. And some people were complaining the streets weren't finished, but then as I talked to them, explained to them that, hey, they're open. They don't need to be finished. At least you can pass through. And like anything, I mean, it wasn't perfect, but I think they did a really, really, really good job this time. Let's see. And then another woman had contacted me about, it was a while ago, from the lead in the water. I mean, it was just got brought up to me this week. But I think it was from 2017, though. That's what I told her. One of the other guys are going to have to address this one. Sure. When 6 of 26 failed, they just wanted to know about the testing and how random it was. But I do believe that was from 2017. And that was well addressed a long time ago.
Yeah, that
It wasn't recent, I know
that
that.
might have been the
No, that's
last
what I
time
told her.
we didn't meet the DNR standard. Andrew, obviously well dates Andrew's employment here, but to the extent you can speak to that.
So I do believe it was 2017. We did not
That's what I thought.
pass lead and copper, which kicked off a few things.
Right.
It requires more testing. It requires us to do testing on our corrosion control chemical that we use for the lead and copper leaching. And it also required us to perform 7% citywide lead replacement of lead services. You go into that until you can prove that your samples are good again. We did that in 2018. So our samples then were good.
When you say good or bad, is it over
We'll be
10 over
passed.
10% of the samples exceed the DNR standard? Is that the magic number?
Correct.
Out of 30 or 60?
The second time we would have did it, normally it would be 30, but because we didn't pass, we had to do 60. So then we passed, and we have been in compliance since. We haven't tested. Last year would have been, we have to test every 3 years. Last year would have been our mandated testing, but because we still had the test station and that new chemical that we had to add, we got put into this year's category. So we will be testing this year again, and we will be up for 60 samples again because we had to do the new chemical. So if
Yes.
anybody out there is watching, we are still looking for people to be on the list for sites to test at as well.
Okay. And also then she was wondering too about, the lead laterals going to the schools. If I believe
I
that
don't
they
believe
are
there's any
all,
left.
they're all updated, aren't they?
Yeah, most of them
That's
are
what I
bigger
thought.
anyway, that they wouldn't actually be lead, they'd be
Right.
cast iron.
Right.
Yes.
And I explained to her also that the water consumption in the school is great enough that nothing is going to be sitting in those pipes anyway.
There
So-
shouldn't be, no.
Right.
I wasn't, this predates me a little bit, but when we didn't pass in 2017, that should have kicked off the schools and daycares to have been first for replacements. I haven't verified that, I can. But those should be done as part of our first round.
And that is about all I had for today. Just want to shout out again to the guys doing the snow removal. They did a really good job this time. I was out at 9 o'clock in the morning, checking things out and talked to a few people, and pretty much everybody was happy. So good job, guys.
Okay, I got Scott.
Oh, unless you want to go first,
Nope,
sorry.
go ahead.
No, same thing about the, plowing as Jeff mentioned, and I'm sure Adam's gonna mention too. Joe, I know there was some chatter on Facebook about, well, Manitowoc is better than Trivers. I was in Manitowoc on Sunday. Trivers was plowed much better than Manitowoc, so. Good job, guys. So thank you for that. I had a couple people mention that they're pretty happy with the plowing this time around. I won't keep bringing up the Facebook post that Tracy and Dower brought up. I already emailed Adam my opinion on the matter, so that's all I'm gonna say. And that was it. Thank you.
I received quite a few on the plowing. I thought we did a great job as well. A couple questions with the salting. I did email over to Greg and to Matt to ask about the brine. And I was informed that the brine has to be down when it is not wet and has to have the ability to dry in order for that to effectively work. So after Tuesday's kind of rain sleet storm, it couldn't be applied before this storm here, which answered a lot of those questions. Also got the question brought up about the winter parking ban. Some people for it, some people not for it, some people that have their motor homes that are still on the streets. Again, all those questions were sent off to the appropriate departments within the city. So they are looking into those. And that's all I have. On to number 7, council reports from boards, commissions, and committees. Anyone have anything they'd like to report on? Darla.
Both Main Street and Environmental Advisory Board are working towards making our events and projects really, really good for 2024. So there really isn't much to say, but just keep watching the inserts to your utility bills and what's posted online or on our Facebook as far as the winter educational series. The next one is going to be on invasive species, the fight to save land and water. That's gonna be Thursday. Oh no, we just did that one. Where's the next one? Here we go. The next one. Oh, and I did
Good,
want to
too.
say that, yeah, the invasive species one on January 4th, I was ill and Tracy took over for me and I got a text from her and it was awesome. It was standing room only. The people were enthused. It was a great conversation starter. It was a great thing to learn more about. Did you want to say anything more about that evening?
It was really fun. Actually, people were pretty enthused. I had one gentleman say, thank you for self-identifying, because I mentioned I was on city council, and you could email any ideas if you come up with them as they come along. And so that then, yes, people were lined up to talk about all kinds of things, some of which would matter to EAB, but some not. But because we do this invasive species presentation focused on our area specifically, which is nice. It wasn't some nebulous, oh, it's terrible, the whole planet's being invaded by whatever. It was very locally driven, and that, I think the next one on native species is also going to be that, and people find them very helpful, just like programs at the library, like plant exchanges and stuff. People people are participating in the community that way.
Thank you. So yeah, the next one's going to be February 1st at 6 p.m. Nancy Gill's going to tell us how to incorporate native trees, shrubs, and plants in our gardens and yards. She is a former science teacher and a current board member of the Conversation Education, Inc., which serves as the Friends Group of the Collins Marsh Wildlife Refuge. She also writes a column for the Valders Journal called On the Marsh. And Shannon, I want to give a shout out to Shannon that she's the one who was able to secure Nancy Gill to be one of our speakers. So thank you very much. I hope to see a lot of people at these presentations.
Yeah, shout out to the library staff as well. Jeff Dawson actually introduced Jim Nickelbein and they set things up. I guess they were anticipating only a few people and they were just, and all ages. That's what I was most impressed with was all ages. It wasn't old people like me. It was all ages. So it was really nice and I'm hoping that they'll continue.
Jim's a pretty popular person. I heard he's
Yeah,
a good
he
speaker.
is.
So a lot of people probably came out, especially to see Jim.
Right.
And all the knowledge that he has. That's for
Yeah.
sure. Anything else, Darrell?
No, all I can say is for Main Street, we're going to have gorgeous baskets again this coming summer. So be looking for flowers.
Perfect. Anyone else? Boards, commissions, or committees? Anything they'd like to report on? I have a couple things from the Advisory Rec Board. We had a nice long meeting here last week. We talked about a lot of forestry. Again, went over the tree study that we have. I believe that's also in our packets tonight. So if you had a chance to read that over, a lot of interesting information about things that need to be, trees that need to be pruned, taken out, so on and so forth with the trees. We also looked over our survey for the open space plan, which includes our parks within the city of Two Rivers. So a lot of good feedback there. The common theme that I've noticed there was a lot of talk about the pool and the need for a pool. There was a lot of comments. That wasn't included in our packet. Are you planning on, or can they view that somewhere?
Yes, I'll get it on the website.
Okay.
Bring it with the full draft.
Okay, so look for that in the future, but you'll see all the comments in there regarding our parks. Again, the common theme there was a pool. I also talked about skate rentals, how they were doing very, very well. Came January, they kind of slowed down that first week, and I don't know how they were this week with the rest of the weather, but my assumption is probably not as well. Down again. Yeah, so down the last 2 weeks. So Mike and his staff are going to play that by ear and staff that accordingly. Also, a lot of participants in our programs. A lot of people signed up already for our summer sports programs. And then we also talked about security in the building, which it looks like Mike and Ben have that kind of started, where we have some presence of police that hopefully go in there, usually nightly between 5 and 8. So that's good to see as well. So that was the pretty much status of our meeting there. And then we're going to go to the city manager's report. And just so we know that after our invited guests 1 and 2, we're going to move to 10B. So we'll go to Greg for the invited guests. Greg.
Okay, very good. First up, very happy to report that Joe Metzen began work today as our new tourism director, based at City Hall, providing staff support to the Explore Two Rivers, Inc. Board of Directors. A lot of you know Joe. He's certainly been a fixture in the Manitowoc and Two Rivers community for a number of years. Comes to us most recently from the Hamilton Woodtype and Printing Museum. Joe, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Craig. My family and I, fortunate to call Lakeshore home for the past 25 years. So it's just a thrill to be here. Truly blessed to join the City of Two Rivers staff team. Looking forward to the challenges and opportunities that leading the tourism department faces. Exciting future ahead. Thrilled to be a part of it. Thank you for having me here.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome Joe aboard, please. Hi. Next up, Mike, did you have an introduction for Kelly? We'll be hearing A report about the recently completed urban forestry plan and inventory.
Good evening, everyone. I had the pleasure to get to work with Kelly Tuttle from Blue Stem Forestry this summer to work on a tree inventory for all of Two Rivers in our parks and an urban forestry management plan. All this work was funded by a DNR, Wisconsin DNR urban forestry grant this past year. We've already been able to put nice pieces of this plan into place that are going to help us be ahead of the game and hopefully save money and do really good things in the community this year and get ahead of the game for this coming year. There's also good news that there's lots of federal funding coming down the pipe to the state of Wisconsin and urban forestry. So this is going to set us up really nicely. So yeah, I'm going to turn it over to Kelly. She'll give you the highlights of the urban forestry management plan she put together for us. And she might be one of the only people in Two Rivers history to have walked every single street in our town. So she can probably tell you a lot about our town. So
I had her mark sidewalks while she was out there. Okay. No,
I could have.
welcome, Kelly. Feel free to pull that down if you like.
I'll be quick because I know you have the plan in your packets. So just a few highlights of the inventory that we learned. First time inventory for the city of Two Rivers. So 3,437 trees were inventoried, 22 stumps. 492 trees were located in cemeteries, 62 at your library, 656 in your parks, and the remaining roughly 2,200 were on street right-of-ways. So just so you know, I did all of the street rights-of-ways and all of your parks and public spaces. Only 282 ash, publicly owned ash. There's a lot of privately owned ash. So that's really good news. That is not a lot. That's 8.2% of your population. You're in a lot better spot than a lot of communities. Most of them probably already have emerald ash borer. 30 along Mariners Trail being treated. Beautiful, stunning trees. The plan is to keep treating those. I highly recommend that. The bad news with the first time tree inventory. I recommended 432 trees needed to be removed, and that's for safety reasons. So they're either primarily dead, large dead branches, decay pockets, that type of thing. 75 of those are dead and dying ash from emerald ash borer. So that also is a contributing factor there. Little high, first time inventory averages 3 to 10%. That's 12.5% of your population. But again, a large portion of that are your ash. 112 trees I thought needed pruned for safety reasons. So large dead limbs, hangers, that type of thing. Right on target, 3.3 of your total inventory population. Average inventory first time 3 to 7%. About 51% of all your street trees have overhead utility lines. So that's a big deal. That's a really high number. I'm sure you're aware of it. I thought your utility company was doing a pretty good job. It's hard to work with trees and utility lines. That's all there is to it. So I think the biggest issue that I noticed was that now that we have all this information, it's going to take a lot more staff time and a lot more funding to get some of these issues taken care of. To give you an idea of what I recommended for activities for 2024, so I took a portion of your trees that I thought needed removed, and they're all ranked from 0 to 100 so that you have a plan of action. I recommend 250 trees be removed in 2024, if that's possible, and 68 trees be removed, and then continue to treat your ash, remove your stumps, inspect poor quality trees, and receive some staff training. So it's a big job ahead of you. 2025 looks much the same. I spent a lot of time with Mike and Jared going through all of this and how to tackle that. The goals were set based largely on DNR criteria. And so we've talked extensively about how to tackle that list and how to start at the very worst trees and work your way up. It'd be great to see tree planting incorporated in 2025. And that also is an item I recommended. I was told I had 5 minutes, so I kept this short. What I wanted to say was I also, at the end of the project, I talked to DNR staff, and Tracy Salisbury is the DNR coordinator out of Green Bay. And both of us are so pleased with Two Rivers, with Mike and your staff. I talked to a lot of residents because I am literally walking up and down all of your streets. I think this is a great start for your community. I think you have great staff working. Your cemetery staff was also wonderful. So if we could get the city council behind this and recognize how important it is. I do a tree appraisal of every tree when I look at them, and the appraised value of all of your trees is around $17 million. So that factors in water runoff reduction, heating and cooling costs, all of that. So they do a lot of good for us. And Tracy and I both felt like you're way better off than a lot of communities of your size, and you're ready to go. And we were really impressed. And I told Mike, I've been doing this for about 20 years, working with smaller to medium-sized communities, and you guys were my favorite to work in. It was beautiful to be here this summer. Your residents were wonderful. Your staff was wonderful. So thanks for the opportunity to work here. I'm happy to answer any email or call, any questions at all about trees. Happy to talk about it. So any questions for me? Okay, you guys had a giant agenda, so thanks for listening. Let me know if you have any questions at all.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for your good work, Kelly. Appreciate it. Next up, as Council President indicated, if there are no objections, we would like to next move to formal item 11B, resolution on retirement for Tammy
10B.
Stadler, recently retired after 30 years of dedicated employment. Tammy, Mark, you're welcome to stay for the whole shebang, but we figured we'd get to it early. Over to you.
All right, here's our resolution. Whereas Tammy Stadler joined the Two Rivers Parks and Recreation Department on September 2nd, 1993 in the position of Clerk 1 after serving 1 year in a part-time capacity. Whereas throughout her tenure, Tammy was consistently dedicated to professional development and continuous improvement. And whereas Tammy's strong work ethic and passion for learning led her to a promotion to department secretary, later renamed administrative assistant on January 19th, 1998. And whereas throughout Tammy's tenure, she would come to be described as a mentor, leader, coach, and team player by subordinates, peers, and supervisors. And whereas Tammy's skills, work ethic, and commitment to the mission of Parks and Recreation made her invaluable to 9 different department directors, ensuring long-lasting quality service even in the face of change. And whereas Tammy retired December 22nd, 2023, after serving the city of Two Rivers with dedication and distinction for a total of 30 years. Tammy contributed above and beyond the call of service because of her love of our mission, community, and her team members, and her role with the Two Rivers Parks and Recreation Department, and for the citizens of this city, and was a well-respected and passionate member of our Parks and Recreation team. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Two Rivers hereby expresses its gratitude and appreciation for Tammy Stadler and her many contributions to the Two Rivers Parks and Recreation Department and the community of Two Rivers. And be it further resolved that the City of Two Rivers extends its best wishes to Tammy for a long, healthy, and happy retirement. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Tammy Stadler as a token of the city's thanks for her many years of dedicated service to the citizens of Two Rivers.
All right, we will look for a motion on this. Thank you, Jeff. Seconded by Darla. Any council discussion? See none. It is a roll call as it is a resolution. Amanda.
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Tim Petrie. Bonnie Shimalunas. Scott Steckmeister.
Aye.
Adam Mahusky.
Aye.
Jeff Delkey. Tracy Coach.
Aye.
Bill Leclerc.
Aye.
Congratulations, Tammy.
As I was going through her file to look up some of her professional development experience and things she had done, I did find.
I think I've been around all 30 of those.
Completing a training on Windows 3.
We currently operate on Windows 11, so she's come a long way.
Good job. Not just one.
Years ago.
We're working on it, baby steps.
One at a time.
There's trying to be a special medal for that in addition to the resolution.
Definitely.
Okay, I had listed, I had great plans going into the weekend to get a complete State of the City report done. somehow the driveway and driving around town to check on plowing, other things took precedent. I will defer that to the first meeting in February. 2023 still was a good year, but we'll defer that. Tonight, as far as my city manager's report, by the way, even after a foot of snow, Neshota Beach is beautiful. That area just south of the beach. The nice thing is you can roll down your window and not have to get out in the 0-degree weather and take a picture. We welcomed Joe Metzen earlier this evening as our new tourism director. Going back over to Parks and Rec land, would note that Laura Hooper, who was a recent hire in the position of recreation clerk, did apply for and has been promoted now to the position of Parks and Rec office manager, taking the position that Tammy Stadler recently retired from. And Laura has already been active and very visible at a number of events. Very good addition to the staff at Parks and Rec. Ongoing recruitment activity. Interviews have been completed for the apprentice line worker position, and communications are going out to the top candidate and the other applicants. So we'll have an announcement coming there shortly. And did I get this right, Amanda? Interviews are being scheduled for the rec clerk position?
That position was closed today, so yes, we'll be.
Just
scheduling
closed
those.
today?
Yep.
Okay, very good. Thank you. As we look ahead to major street and utility projects, I just want to put a reminder in here. Work is moving ahead as far as planning for the Roosevelt Avenue reconstruction project. That is our big street construction and utility reconstruction project this year, about a $5.2 million estimated cost. First neighborhood information meeting was held last Thursday night, the 24th, or were about 15 households represented. The discussion included estimated special assessments, some of the design initiatives that are intended to bring about some traffic calming and maybe address some of the speed concerns in that area. I wasn't in attendance, but it sounds like it was a very positive meeting overall. There will be another pre-construction meeting as once a contractor is selected and things are ready to go into implementation mode later in the spring. That project will involve replacement of about 50 lead water service laterals, both public and private side. Tonight's agenda does include the preliminary resolution on levying special assessments. We expect that project bids will be solicited in February with a presentation of bid for award at the March 4 meeting. Probably that meeting would also include the final resolution on special assessments for the project. Also this year, there are plans to replace approximately 200 additional lead water service laterals in addition to those on Roosevelt Avenue. This would be both the public side, the public side and a portion of the private side would be paid from city and Manitowoc County American Rescue Plan Act funds. You might remember the county agreed very generously to match dollar for dollar whatever amount the city spends out of its $1.3 million approximately in ARPA funds for lead service laterals. We may very well be using some of the ARPA money to make sure we can retain the practice from recent years of doing $2,500 grants for those private side laterals. And I think that's been discussed at Utilities Committee. The other thing Utilities Committee has recommended is that the city consider borrowing money to allow property owners the option of paying the special charges. They're not special assessments, technically special charges for the private side lateral replacements. So say you've got a $2,500 grant toward your private lateral replacement, but it costs $3,500. This would give those folks the option, rather than having to plunk down $1,000 that they probably weren't planning on, to paying it back to the city with interest in installments. We didn't have action on that on tonight's agenda. I know that had been discussed as a possibility at the Utilities Committee because we just learned last week about a new loan program that's being made available through the Environmental Loan Program, specifically the Safe Drinking Water Program, where they will be offering loans to local communities to provide that financing at those subsidized rates, somewhere 1.5%, 1.75% for the private side laterals. We're just learning about it, talked with bond counsel, Quarles and Brady last week. It would entail creating a new fund, which would be a specific fund for private side lead lateral replacement, as I understand it. The reason for that is, and some of you have been on council for a while will recall, if the city was to get in the business out of water fund resources, water utility resources, of either making grants or loans, we would need Public Service Commission of Wisconsin approval for that program. It would have to be offered uniformly to all ratepayers. And heck, we've already got people that have replaced their LSL, their private side LSLs. This is intended to allow for a low interest financing option with the municipality acting as a conduit to assist the private property owner without mucking it all up, for lack of a better term, with the PSC regs. And it worked out pretty well because when I reached out to our bond counsel, she said that Rebecca Speckhard with Coral said, funny you should email. I'm just getting off a phone call. She's on a task force that's been charged with preparing the guidelines for this program. So we'll be reporting back on that and hopefully have a plan of action at one of your February meetings. Jeff?
Greg, somebody had asked me too, how do they go about getting their stuff replaced? If they know that they have lead laterals?
Oh, and they
Do
want
they
to,
just get a hold of the water department?
yeah,
Or-
they can call customer service, 793-5523, or the water department directly. And I'd be happy to put them on a list. They
Okay,
could be
so,
in-
okay, that's what they want to know, if there was a list and how the list was gone about getting taken care of.
You know, at this point in time, we still have about 1,500 lead service laterals out of about 5,100 total customers in the city. So while several hundred locations have been knocked off that list, we have a long way to go. And frankly, it's even with all the federal money we hear about coming down, you know, debt on our kids and grandkids, to do this stuff, there still isn't enough in the way of resources out there. So that's something, if it's going to be a mandate, we're going to need some help, continued help from federal and state sources. So
Will that negatively affect us with the city borrowing it
it,
with our bond insurance if that gets to be a high number?
I don't think so. With the appreciation in property values, our GO, we're at a much smaller percentage of our statutory cap for GO. And from what I understand, general obligation borrowing, excuse me. From what I understand, it may be feasible to issue these as revenue bonds where the guaranteed stream of revenues are the special charges acted upon by city council, which are ultimately enforceable as a lien, you know, being added to property taxes and a lien on the property. So my hope is we can do this clean as a revenue issue. If it's GO, it does add to our, you know, to what counts toward our general obligation limit of no more than 5% of total equalized value of the city. And by the way, in the discussion with bond counsel, generally, because I had a question, this is on private property. So if it was GO, could it be a non-taxable issue? And apparently there are opinions out there that because it relates to a public health issue, even though it would involve replacing infrastructure on private property, if the city had to go the general obligation route, it would probably be possible to do it with a tax exempt borrowing and those better rates. But right now, up front, Adam, the goal would be to do it as revenue borrowing if at all possible.
Okay.
Yep. Just glad to know that there's some wheels turning in Madison to recognizing, you know, this is a big thing to hit households up with. It's important, but at the same time, it does have that financial impact on people. We now, of course, have the slate of candidates for the April city council election on April 2. Just to note again, this is in the order those folks will appear on the ballot based on the ballot drawing that was held a couple of weeks ago. Doug Brandt, Andrew Quackenbush, Shannon Derby, Jeff Dahlke, and Mark Bittner. So those are our candidates for the 3 council seats that are up. Wanted to comment, there have already been some comments, but recent storm responses by city departments. These were a couple storm events. We'll start with the most recent, last Friday into Saturday's blizzard and roughly a foot of snow that hit 2 rivers. Our storm response on Friday, the 12th, did have plows and salt trucks out until about 8 p.m. Then things were pretty bad out there for everybody. The crews got pulled off to get the necessary rest, knowing that we're going to tackle it early the next morning. It was scheduled, and indeed they did. The crews were in at 5 a.m. on Saturday. They started a full city plowing operation that continued till about 5 p.m. that night, so about 12 hours on Saturday. That response involved 10 full-time DPW employees and 4 part-time seasonal truck drivers. The normal complement of 6 plow trucks and grader were used for most of the street plowing. There were other pieces of equipment out, front end loaders, pickup trucks with plows, and the tool cat for things like bridge sidewalks and around some of the municipal buildings and parks. In the afternoon, there was 1 full-time operator and 4 part-time seasonals who began the pickup of windrows in the downtown area. Was kind of amazing to see Washington Street absolutely positively clean downtown by late afternoon on Saturday. That only required 1 full-time operator in the blower. And you can see the other trucks that are involved. There are trucks that aren't equipped with plows, and we brought our part-time seasonals in to do that. Admittedly, there were some problems on the, I'll call it the Lower East Side, not of Manhattan, of Two Rivers, but basically from 22nd Street toward the lake, east of the East Twin River. 1 truck went down shortly after that. I think the replacement truck, a hydraulic hose, blew out. So we were admittedly behind over there. But by 2 in the afternoon, when I was out talking to the foreman, I know Matt was out checking things out. They had assigned 2 plows and the grader over there to try to get caught up. So yes, that things happen, and it happened and impacted that area. Probably the area that got hit hardest too, with all this windblown snow off the lake. But generally a very good response. Appreciate council members forwarding any comments or concerns you get from the folks out there. But it was quite a storm, and kudos to our crews for a very good response. And we had 100% of the crew in on Saturday taking care of it, in addition to the Parks and Rec folks with cleaning around various, the community house and various rec trails and facilities in town. Just back it up a couple of days, we had the blizzard that almost was. You remember that last week, Tuesday, when in fact it ended up being wet precip along the shoreline at least, but still some pretty nasty winds and a little snow and ice thrown in. You're all aware, I expect, that we had a pretty major power outage on the evening of the 9th. That was just after 6 p.m. and it impacted 1,105 customers on the city's south side. And because of the outage, which was basically a tree branch that, if I understand it right, Brian, came down across all 3 phases of the primaries near 12th and Hawthorne, those lines all burned out and came down in the roadway. So police and fire initially secured the scene. We had 5 line workers respond, and I'll say it again, you ain't gonna get that from WPS or We Energies generally. Our municipal line crew, very good response. They're able to splice all 3 lines and restore service within about 3 hours. It was getting a little dicey there because it was a little after 9 o'clock, and I know folks were wondering, hey, when is the power coming back on? It's getting cold out. But outstanding response, and we've had some suggestions from citizens about, on this end, the parking ban, whether we can get into some new technology with text alerts to customers, and we will be exploring that as well. But for now, watch Facebook, both the utility and City Hall Facebook pages for the most timely updates. Lord knows there's enough people out there they can receive information and impart it, as we know. So thank you, both Public Works and the utility crews, for responses on 2 different storms. I think we were all grateful with those 45-mile-an-hour winds and the temps plunging on Friday night into Saturday that we didn't have any outages here in TR. The parking ban is still being enforced. Yes, there's no snow in the forecast, but the plan is to continue this to facilitate crews getting out and clearing or widening out the streets, doing some corner cleaning and catch basin cleaning. Some of that may happen at night. Even if it happens during the day, that overnight parking ban does tend to help keeping the cars off the street. And if you look just a week ahead in the extended forecast, you see we are supposed to be in the mid to upper 30s with some possible rain showers next week. So getting out there to continue that cleanup work after the storm is important. So stay tuned. We want to minimize the period of time for enforcement of the winter ban, but at least for the balance of this week, that just looks to make sense. Just a major project, about $300,000. It was authorized by council last summer, is progressing here at City Hall for the last 3 months. I think we've had electricians and contractors fishing wires through the walls, and in a few cases doing conduit runs on the outside of walls. Thankfully, none of those here in Chambers. About 75% of the new electronic HVAC control project is completed. As of today, third floor is being fully controlled by the new electronic system. The building needed a little adjusting this morning. I know the police department was in the 50s in some areas, and I know everybody's eager for this complete project to get completed. Again, we've been relying on a control system that went in with the 1993 renovation of the building, and it was kind of at the ragged rear edge of pneumatic control systems, and some of those plastic lines, when they work inside the wall spaces, just snap. They're so old and deteriorated. So into the 21st century there. Would remind you, the Chamber of Manitowoc County Awards of Distinction program is at the Capitol Civic Center on Thursday, February 8th. It's always nice to have representation from the city there. Typically a good number of Two Rivers businesses in attendance. Sometimes they're included among the award winners. The Central Park West project, I know, has been nominated for the Chamber Cooperation Award. So good to see that initial recognition. Maybe it'll go further. If you're interested in attending, excuse me, would encourage you to get in touch with Lisa Keene in the city manager's office by this Friday. It's not a full dinner anymore. It's noshing at different tables and circulating around the Capitol Civic Center. Actually, it's a lot more fun than being stuck at a sit down for 3 hours like in the good old days. So kudos to the chamber on that. We do have an upcoming TRT night, Ice Skating Olympics, on January 19th, 6 to 7:30 in Central Park West, because you'll notice, among other things, the synthetic ice at Central Park West did get cleaned for use this weekend. The use was a little light given the weather, but there's still plenty of skating season, as council president reported from advisory rec board this first time around. So Mike and the Parks and Rec staff kind of playing it by ear. And we have seen good usage for the most part. Our friends out at Point Beach State Forest, the Friends Group, has organized a candlelight hike this coming Saturday, January 20th. That's 5 to 8 p.m. And that is a 1-mile loop through the pine and hemlock forest. Given the weather we've had, maybe you want to bring your snowshoes, I'm not sure. But there'll be a warming fire and hot chocolate at the Nature Center. Free admission, you just need that sticker to get into the state forest. Otherwise, it's a long walk this time of year. Library, Snowflake String Art, Saturday, January 27th, 10:30 a.m. over at Leicester Public Library. And man, if you saw some of the snowflakes they were doing before Christmas, those were pretty amazing. And this is another great craft opportunity. Please call in advance to register over at the library. Just remind folks again of ice skate rentals, Friday the 19th, 4 to 8 p.m. regularly through January on Saturdays noon to 7 p.m., Sundays noon to 5. Rink is open daily 6 to 11, and the restrooms from 9 to 6. After that, you just have to skate a whole lot faster, maybe on up to Quick Trip or something. Our EAB members from the council, council members Darla LeClaire, Tracy Coach, mentioned this is part of the turnout of about 40 people that were at Jim Nickelbein's talk on invasive species at Leicester Public Library. I think this is a tribute to the quality of the series, and I think also a tribute to our friend Jim, who just recently retired as director out at Woodland Dunes. I did have occasion today to participate in an interview with Jeff Alexander from WBAY. They are doing one of their small town segments, which are outstanding, on the 50th anniversary for Woodland Dunes Nature Center. So Sue Crowley, the new director from here in Two Rivers, was one of the interviewees. I know they talked to some of the volunteers, and we're even getting drone footage today. I don't know when that airs, but be on the lookout for it. I would like to ask Chief Minert to come forward. We shared with council, and the police department shared with the community this afternoon an announcement regarding an off-duty accident that occurred yesterday that involved Canine Officer Zante. I don't think we won't be engaging in discussion of this, but it is a chance for the chief to offer an update to council and the community. Ben.
Yeah, there's a lot of times that I'm up here and I'm proud of the things that happen at the PD and the things that we do. This is one of those situations that I'm not very proud of. However, while everybody else was out probably celebrating the Packer game, this is something that I was dealing with. Catching the news that our off-duty handler and our canine were involved in an accident of sorts. In essence, what had happened was Zante was near his residence, however, in the roadway and struck a vehicle. Not going into details because we are still investigating, but ultimately that's what happened. I received that information. Our first concern was obviously for the driver of the vehicle and also our canine, Zante. Thankfully, there were no serious injuries for either. It's my understanding that, the driver was definitely shaken up and sore. Zante luckily also was seen at a vet in Appleton, great care. They did all the different tests, and for what I know, there's just a little discomfort and some abrasions. I'm not happy again about the situation, but I felt it important that as soon as I had as much information as possible, even in our low times at the PD, we are always transparent, opposite of what you may see on Facebook. Both the handler, Zante, the department, we are treated just like any other person is when we're in our off-duty time or even while on patrol. This was immediately investigated by Manitowoc Sheriff's Department, so it's an unbiased party investigating it. I don't know the full outcome of that as of yet, but we will hear the final. I do have an accident report that I know I've gotten just a preliminary information, and we have spoken to the family of that driver and the driver herself. Other than that, again, it was investigated by Manitowoc County Sheriff. I have no doubt that they're going to handle it just like they would for any other person, and we will handle it a little bit more strict on a personal level. As you know, in the department, if we have an individual involved in anything, whether it be an accident, a speeding ticket, any sort of violation, a breaking of the law, we're always transparent about it, and we also investigate it within our department and handle it accordingly. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I'd be happy to answer them if I can. But right now, like I said, for the most part, this is under investigation, and I know it'll be handled appropriately.
With every assurance, the department will handle it appropriately.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Just a reminder, some upcoming meetings, Environmental Advisory Board tomorrow night. Is that right, ladies?
Yeah.
Okay. Environmental Advisory Board,
Right.
5:30 here at City Hall, right? Council chambers? Okay. We are, in all likelihood, going to have a special plan commission meeting next Monday, the 22nd. We announced that at the last plan commission meeting. This regarding looking at our ordinances, zoning ordinances as they relate to energy storage, some of the other new technologies in the energy field. Business Industrial Development Committee and Community Development Authority meet next week, Tuesday, the 23rd at 5:15 p.m. That's their regular monthly meeting. Hate us over the holidays, but their regular monthly meeting. City Council, this is a 5 Monday month, so right now we're not planning on the council meeting next week on the 22nd, but work session on Monday, the 29th. There will be representatives from the Two River Family Swim Center there. That was a delay or a rescheduling, an earlier visit that was planned, and we'll probably have several other items on the agenda as well. And then we return for the next regular council meeting here in Chambers. The work session's in Chambers too. Next regular meeting, February 5th. Just remind you, and now you can find out the latest and most up-to-date information on what's happening in Two Rivers at exploretworivers.com, or you can pick up the phone or send an email to Joe Matt at tworivers.org, our new tourism director. And with that, boys will be boys, especially after the storm. The boys over at the Two Rivers Coast Guard Station.
Adam, I have a
Clever.
question.
But I'm bummed. That is my report, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I have a question for Greg.
Yeah.
You and I were communicating back and forth today. That taxing issue for the dome.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information that's floating around out there that just doesn't sound like a really good idea. And maybe, and Bonnie, you're still on the county board, right? maybe you could fill us in on some of what you guys are thinking.
The biggest thing is how to pay for it.
Isn't it always, huh?
I know, I know.
Yeah.
And well, I don't know what question you have specifically. That dome, see, nobody knows for sure what the problem is because you're supposed to do I'm sorry that I forget what it's called, but try to get somebody to look into it, to remove parts of the dome so they can see what kind of damage is being done. And people are okay with it doing the HVAC and the windows, but for some reason they don't want to go too much further. I don't know what other questions you have.
By the way, this is, Jack, this is under legislative intergovernmental update. And I just ceded the floor to our county board member on council. Jack had that quizzical look on his face, but Bonnie, what can you tell us about the
To
dome?
answer Bonnie's question, though, I've seen several articles and snippets and, I mean, it's kind of all over the place right now, but basically instituting a 0.5%
Right.
county sales tax
Yeah,
to pay for it. And I don't think Bob Zielbauer's for that.
You could kind of infer that from
got
his
it.
comments. Yeah, yeah, that's. an
So I don't know,
understatement.
I mean, what have your conversations been, doing that?
he doesn't want it because he thinks that oppresses lower income people, which is probably true. And also, he thinks it won't ever go away, which is probably true. And the thing is, it's a $30 million project. It's not cheap. And that's what's making it so difficult to know how to pay for it.
Council wants, we certainly could invite, we could make it an agenda item and invite, well, there are different opinions within the county board, obviously.
Right.
Mr. Ziegelbauer, I think, had an editorial last week, and other folks that are in favor of the half-cent sales tax, which we're one of just a handful of counties in Wisconsin that don't do the local option sales tax, have different opinions on it. But yeah.
But anyway,
Thank you, Bonnie.
that's about it.
Okay.
That constitutes my report.
All right.
And then
Thank
some.
you.
Thank you.
On to number 9, which is the consent agenda. Under A, we have a presentation of minutes. There are 1. It is a regular city council meeting of January 3rd, 2024. Recommended action is a motion to waive reading and adopt the minutes. Under B, minutes of meetings, there are 5. The recommended action is a motion to receive and file. Under C, department reports for December of 2023, there are 11. The recommended action is a motion to receive and file. Under D, summary of verified bills for the month of December 2023 for the amount of $1,663,553.28. Recommended action is a motion to receive and file. And under E, applications and petitions, there are 1. It is an application for a temporary Class B beer for Knights of Columbus 1957 KC Annual Cornhole Tournament on February 3rd, 2024 at the Two Rivers Community House. The recommended action there is a motion to approve the application and authorize issuance of the license. The recommended action for the consent agenda as a whole is a motion to approve the consent agenda with the various actions recommended. Looking for a motion for the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Jeff. Second by Bill. Council discussion. Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. That brings us to number 10. City council formal items. We did A already, so that leaves us with just B, which is, that we did B, leaves us with A. So it is a preliminary resolution to levy special assessments upon the properties fronting on Roosevelt Street from Lowell Street to 12th Street. The recommended action is a motion to waive reading and adopt the resolution. Greg, background, please.
This is basically the first statute, the first step in levying special assessments for public improvements. The council declares its intention to exercise its authority under the police power, section 660703 of statutes, to levy special assessments on properties fronting on Roosevelt, the project we talked about earlier this evening, Roosevelt from Lowell Street to 12th Street. The accessible public improvements are identified in the resolution, including removal of existing pavement, excavation, installation of storm sewer laterals, grading and graveling, Portland cement concrete paving, driveway approaches, replacement of carriage walks, repair of sidewalk, restoration, and miscellaneous related work. Costs that will not be assessed include repair or replacement of sanitary sewer mains and services within the right-of-way, water mains and services within the right-of-way, and storm sewer main. Goes on to point out, as usual, the total amount assessed against each parcel shall not exceed the total cost of the city's cost of improvements and engineering. City doesn't make a buck on these for certain. Assessments against each parcel can be paid in full or in 10 annual installments to include interest at a rate to be determined by council. Now, these are the special assessments, not the special charges for the private service lateral replacements. That's a different deal. The longstanding council policy has been for that rate to be 2 points above the city's cost of borrowing. I think that will be determined in advance of action on the final resolution. And then fifthly, the council directs the Director of Public Works to prepare his report that will consist of the plans and specs for the improvements, an estimate of the entire cost, statement that properties against which assessments are proposed are benefited, along with a complete schedule of the proposed assessments. Further directs that report be filed with the clerk, and the clerk will then give notice appropriately of public hearing through both publication and mailings to all of the property owners subject to the special assessments. There. Might as well have told you to read the thing. But that's essentially what's there. And if you have any further questions, Matt Heckenleibel, our city engineer, would be happy to address them.
Hey, let's get a motion on the table. Anyone wishing to make this motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Scott. Seconded by
I'll second.
Tracy. Any council discussion? Seeing none, it is a resolution. Roll call vote. Amanda.
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc, Tim Petrie, Bonnie Shimalunas,
Aye.
Scott Steckmesser,
Aye.
Adam Mahusky,
Aye.
Jeff Delkey,
Aye.
Tracy Coach.
Aye.
All right, we kind of tackled.
It's an action item C on an ordinance amendment about animals. That will be on the next agenda. I pulled it from the agenda Friday, but somehow it magically appeared on the one on the side table here. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, Mr. President. We've covered
Yes,
the upcoming.
we did for
meetings.
information only as part of the city manager's report.
Yep.
So that will bring us to number 12, which is closed session. The city council reserves the right to enter into closed session per Wisconsin statute 19.851E when deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investment of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever a competitive or bargaining reason require a closed session. Tonight, we will discuss matters pertaining to the charges for water and sewer connections for the Vanderbroek Arboretum at 3800 Lincoln Avenue. We simply intend to just discuss. We don't think there will be any action taken except for to adjourn when we go back into open session after discussion. Looking for a motion to go into closed session.
Make a motion to go into closed session.
Thank you, Tracy. Second by Bill. Any council discussion? This does require a roll call vote. Amanda.
Tim Petrie.
Aye.
Bonnie Shimalunas.
Aye.
Scott Steckmesser.
Aye.
Adam Mahusky.
Aye.
Jeff Delkey. Tracy Coach.
Aye.
Bill Leclerc.
Aye.
Darla Leclerc.
All right. We will go into closed session. Thank you.